And joining us now live to discuss the current situation in the war between Israel and Iran is Avi Melamed, former Israeli intelligence and Arab affairs official. Avi, thank you for joining us today. Israel just took out Iran's new military leader after just 4 days in office. How significant do you view this?
Thank you for having me. Well, this is yet another link in the ongoing chain of assassinations of the senior leadership of the Iranian military establishment, both the army and the Islamic Revolutionary Guards. It's one layer of a many multi-layer, sort of speaking, Israeli offensive and a plan that has been meticulously calculated and planned for a long period of time.
Now, Israel doesn't have these so-called bunker buster munitions needed to reach sites like Iran's Fordow nuclear facility, which it's buried deep in a mountain. Since only the U.S. has the B-2 bomber that can even deliver that type of a weapon, do you see direct U.S. involvement as a real possibility in the actual deployment of, hot war?
It's a possibility, but I don't think that at this point it is relevant, at least for now. I think there are very clear messages from President Trump. The end game, the way we see that, is that in the end of the day, President Trump would like the Iranians to go back to the table of negotiations, but with, of course, much weaker position, and actually comply with some basic terms and demands that are non-negotiable that President Trump was previously presenting. And on top of that, of course, the whole issue of totally stopping the enriching of uranium in Iran.
Now, are there any other options to targeting Iran's hard-to-reach nuclear infrastructure?
Look, theoretically, there are different options, but I don't really think that these options that have been mentioned, like, for example, a ground operation, are really relevant, at least at this point of our discussion. I think that it's clear that as long as the United States of America hints or signals that at some point it may proactively intervene in the war, this is for itself, I would say, should be sufficient enough to cause the Iranian regime to move forward towards exiting this current situation. We need to remember the Mullah regime is now finding himself in a place he never thought he's going to be in, because the Mullah regime has been building itself a very effective, successful sort of like insurance policy in a frame of what we call the three-legged stool, meaning the Iranian proxies, the Iranian nuclear capacities, and the missiles and drones. Today, the Iranian regime finds itself in a place where this system that was supposed to provide the Iranian regime with an ultimate insurance, deterring any kind of an attack on Iran itself, that master plan, that blueprint has been totally failed. And so I think that at this point, at least for now, I don't see reason for the United States to be proactively involved. It should be enough, I think, that the United States only hints or signals that it could be part of that. I think that will be further boosting the Iranian regime willingness and readiness to go back to the negotiation table.
And let's turn our gaze over to Israel. Despite the sophistication of Israelis' offensive capability and the Iron Dome defense, it has suffered casualties from Iran. How has Iran been able to penetrate the Iron Dome?
Well, you're looking at a reality when you got dozens and hundreds of ballistic missiles launched at Israel, including or in addition to many attacking drones. The Israeli multi-layer defense system, which is enormously effective, is yet still does not provide 100% seal. We all know that. And unfortunately, if a missile is penetrating that defense, we are looking at missiles that contains hundreds and hundreds of pounds of explosives. Those missiles are, of course, deliberately and indiscriminately targeting Israeli urban centers. So once one of those missiles hit the ground, and if it hits an urban area, unfortunately, it could result in a significant impact in terms of casualties, in terms of damage, and so on. The Israeli defense system, as much as amazing as it is, does not provide 100% seal, and we all know that.
And how would you describe the support in Israel now toward the Iran operation?
I would say, roughly speaking, there is an understanding within Israeli public opinion that the Iranian challenge has to be addressed thoroughly and substantially. we should remember that for the last couple of decades, this regime has inflicted an enormous death and destruction across the Middle East, not only on Israelis, particularly on Syrians and Lebanese and Yemenites and Iraqis and Palestinians. And so it's very clear that Israeli public opinion, to a large extent, I would say, there is a consensus that there is a need to address the Iranian challenge. Up until now, all the attempts to address that challenge in a non-lethal, non-military way, unfortunately, those attempts has resulted in not the expected or hopeful results. In fact, it has been further boosting the Iranian aggression. So I think that at this point, at least, there is a consensus almost wall to wall in Israel about the necessity and the justification for the Israeli military move. The big question will be, in the end of the day, whether the outcome of that move will really significantly improve Israel's strategic position in the area, in the sense that it will really push back the Iranian military program or nuclear program many years back. This is an open question, and I think that this is something that has to be explored in course of time, because in the end of the day, this is, in the end of the day, the major reason why Israel has launched this military operation.
Well, we appreciate you sharing your insights with us, and we hope for a swift outcome and less casualties all around. Avi Melamed, former Israeli intelligence officer, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.